Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thank everybody for joining us once again for another fabulous rendition of our Thursday Night Cocktail Club. We're super thrilled to have you all here this evening. We have Cody Brown with us tonight. He's from Cody. Hi, Cody. Cody is our special guest. So Cody's coming to us from Atlanta area, right, Cody?
Yeah, so I'm about 30 minutes due north of Atlanta, and we're in a little kind of historic Civil War town called Roswell.
Awesome. So, but it's okay to call that Atlanta area.
Totally,
okay, cool.
we're totally Atlanta.
I don't want to be insensitive to your location, for sure. So Cody's coming to us from Atlanta. We also have our usual suspects. So we have Gideon here tonight. Hey, Gideon.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, it's from San Francisco. We have Ian from Chicago.
Hello.
We have Chastity, also from Chicago.
Hey guys.
Chicago's so lucky to have you both. We have our friend Xander from San Diego, the one and only Xander Brown.
Right? Oh, the right one.
And of course, our amazing producer, Sailor.
Hi.
Spokane. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. So Cody is a fantastic mixologist from Atlanta. He is going to demo for us the Tarragon Whiskey Sour tonight, which is a drink that he actually made with Uncle Nearest in mind, which we're super excited about. And I'm super excited about this. I know you all are too, because that was the first cocktail we did for our cocktail club a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So Cody is a 14-year hospitality veteran, industry veteran, most recently with the Maven Restaurant Group in Alpharetta, Georgia. Working on your own cocktail bar, which we'll learn more about later. And he also has a YouTube channel called the Home Bar Network, right?
Yes.
For those who are watching, if you want to give him a little tip as you go, and we'll mention this throughout, but you can look for him on Venmo at Cody Brown 1776.
And I did post that in the chat just so everyone knows. And at the end of the chat, I'll post it again along with the YouTube links for Cody's show and for ours as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's get started. Cody, show us what you got.
Yes, guys. So the Tarragon Whiskey Sour using Uncle Nearest 1856. If people who are viewing aren't familiar, Uncle Nearest 1856, Tennessee whiskey, we're at 100 proof. So it's fantastic in a whiskey sour because it's going to stand up to the kind of strong ingredients, the lemon, the froth from the egg white. And what I was thinking with the tarragon was actually the only herb we had in the fridge. So I wanted to look and kind of see what we could do quarantine style, working with what we had. And I had some tarragon. And the anise flavor from the tarragon works really well to balance the citrus. And we're gonna do a little bit of orange bitters as well. We've got some Feed Brothers orange bitters. We've got some fresh squeezed lemon juice here. We've got egg white and our beautiful little branded Uncle Nearest rocks glass. And so we're going to start right off, guys. We're going to do egg white here into our small shaker. And we're going to do 3 dashes of orange bitters. And then we're doing a full ounce of our tarragon syrup. Give that a shake. We got a nice green color for the tarragon. We're going to do 1 full ounce.
That is super green. That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
How did you make that?
So I boiled, I did the recipe 2 different times. The first recipe I used 3 stalks of tarragon. The second time I did 5. I wanted a little bit more flavor. I boiled and simmered 2 cups sugar, 2 cups water with the leaves of 5 sprigs of tarragon. And then let it simmer for about 30 to 40 minutes, took it off, and I actually blended it. And sometimes when you're working with herbs, you don't want to blend because you don't want to kind of extract a bitter flavor, but it worked this time. And it's just got a really nice round anise flavor. It's really pretty. So
nice. I can taste it right now.
I know. Yeah. I'm there with you.
Yeah, yummy. I need to make this.
For everyone at home, did you use the filtration process after you blended it, or do you let?
I did, yeah. So I blended it, and then I just strained it through a chinois or through a little tea strainer, right? Just to remove all those bits and particles of the leaves, and it just ended up being a really nice, smooth syrup with nothing else in there.
Cody, I can tell you're a bartender's bartender. Most people don't even know what a chinois is, let alone have one in their house.
Yes. Find their strainer.
The kitchen guys tell me to call things by the correct names, I think. And so we've got our fresh squeezed lemon juice here. We're just going to do an ounce of lemon juice. And that's pouring a little strangely out of this ramekin right here, but that'll be okay. And we're going to go in finally with our 2 ounces of our 100 proof Uncle Nearest 1856. And now we're going to go for ice. And the method that I use when I make whiskey sours or whenever I'm working with egg white is I use a reverse dry shake. So a dry shake, for those watching who might not be familiar, is where you're going to shake with your egg white first, and then you're going to shake with ice afterward to kind of chill your final product. And I just do it reverse. So I shake with ice first, and then I'm going to strain all of the liquid out and discard the ice. And then I'm going to shake it again with just the liquid in order to whip the egg white and kind of emulsify all those ingredients into kind of a foam, so that when I pour the final drink over the ice, it's going to have kind of a meringue on the top. And there's people on both sides. Some people like the regular dry shake. Some people like the reverse dry shake. This is just kind of a habit that I've gotten into using this, and I think it does give it a little bit of a better foam at the top when you do it reverse like this. So I'm going to get some ice.
Kitty, did we have a debate about that yet?
Xander loves it. Look at Xander's face.
Yeah,
we did talk about this.
Come back to it.
I think we need to go over this on our after hours. I was going to say I have the show notes too, and we need to debate this whole because also Gideon, when he did his bar tools, made a great point about one of his tools that we can talk about later too, which would change this whole argument, and it would just leave the argument of ice cube or no ice cube, rocks or no rocks when you have egg white. So I think we need to go back to we should go back to that.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
There's so many different schools of thought on this.
So many.
I can't wait to see this finished cocktail.
I'm excited because I got
yeah.
a new fridge recently, and it has these little nugget ice cubes.
What?
And
Oh my God, those are so cute.
they're almost like cold draft cubes, right? So
Wow.
I've kind of been spoiled by this ice.
Do you want to explain what cold draft cubes are for those who don't work at bar?
So cold draft cube, in a commercial setting, a lot of restaurants use a cold draft machine, and that's cold with a K, K-O-L-D, draft, like draft beer. Cold draft is an ice cube maker that makes a perfect little 1-inch, really solid, really hard piece of ice. And when you're shaking a cocktail with a really hard piece of ice like that, it's not going to over dilute your cocktail with water. It's not going to make it too liquidy. It's just going to chill your cocktail while you shake it and give you a more pure product at the end that isn't over diluted. And that's it. Let's say the other side of that were to be, if a lot of restaurants are still using chip ice, right? Like kind of concession stand ice or like fast food ice.
Hotel ice.
Crap ice.
It's horrible.
Pipes.
We're going to have a whole show on ice. You'll have to come back. We
Yeah.
have to. I'm realizing now we have to.
I'm going to give this a good long 10-second count shake, and then we'll strain it out and we'll do a dry shake afterwards.
Yes.
Oh yeah, shake it, shake it.
And it sounds sexier too with larger ice cubes.
Sure
It does actually. I love the
does.
sound
It does.
of a cold draft cube in a shaker.
Yeah.
It sounds really good.
It's
Yes.
nicely dramatic. It's the right amount of drama for a bar.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Right.
Nobody wants that crap ice.
I miss that sound actually. I can't wait
We
to
I
miss
know.
We're all being rocked into submission by that sound.
We should just record some nice shaking techniques, and we can have them on their phone, and we can just fall asleep to them. A little chicka 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 chicka
Or
chicka.
just drink to them. Yeah.
A 10-hour
Bartenders ASMR.
and ticket printing.
ASMR.
Look at that pour. Nicely done, sir.
No ice. Ice is gone. And when we shake for the second time, we're going to do it in a whipping motion. You want to act like almost like you're making your arms like a washing machine. And you just want to, we're trying to whip that egg white into a meringue.
It also helps if you have big muscles,
Yeah, if
It
you have
does.
some nice big
It does not
biceps.
hurt.
which I don't have.
That's all for bartending.
I forgot what number it is.
Hey, I've been bartending for 16 years and I don't have those. So.
Straight up. I've been bartending most of my life, and I've never had those guns. What the
I mean,
hell?
no fair.
I'm saying
Oh,
I have
man.
never had guns like that.
Girl can dream. Mine will come in eventually. But
Yeah, I'm just at the right age for my body to get more muscular, said no one at my age.
Bicep curls like this.
I'm going to hold it up so you guys can see.
Okay.
And if we're lucky, we're going to have a nice layer of foam.
Oh, that's
Oh, look how
silky.
fabulous.
That is very
Beautiful.
silky.
Oh, yum.
Oh.
And I do like the Presentation Sans strainer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at
That's
my
how,
rice.
I mean, that's the old school method, right? Without the strainer. I mean, that's originally how I was taught. And then I still don't use the
Right.
strainer.
Okay.
But well.
You put this inside this.
I don't do it at home.
That I don't. Not anymore. You shush.
And then we've got some really nice tarragon here, guys. This is just fresh tarragon.
Oh.
And if you'd like to kind of awaken some of the scents from the herb, you can kind of hit it on the edge of the glass or on the edge of your hand and break some of those kind of vessels inside the walls of the herb. And we're going to use that right on the side of the drink right there.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yay!
That class is great.
I'm Cody.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's gorgeous.
I can smell it. I feel like I can smell it, but oh gosh.
We're there with you.
Love it.
So it sounds and looks like it would be so fresh and so complex in the nose.
It is. And I think, anise and that kind of licorice flavor is so kind of polarizing. Some people love it and some people don't. But because of the citrus and because it's you've got 2 ounces of 100 proof whiskey in there, it is just enough in there where you don't feel like you're biting into a piece of licorice candy or something like that. It's just kind of just there in the background. And I think it just kind of brightens everything up along with the orange bitters and opens it up for a nice spring little sour.
Yeah. I love the color of it too.
Cody, can I ask
I
you a
know.
question? Cody, tarragon is a very difficult herb. It's intimidating for a lot of home cooks, home bartenders, and just non-bar industry, chef, culinary people.
Right.
Can I ask what you had tarragon in your refrigerator for?
I had tarragon in the fridge because before all of this, this kind of the COVID-19, everything started, Haley and I were going to take a trip to Spain where her and I met. My wife is Haley, for those who don't know. Haley and I met in Madrid in 2009. While
Really?
I was study abroad, yeah. She was on Party Abroad. I was on study
Boom.
So we were going to go back to where we met, and we were also going to go to Barcelona and San Sebastian to kind of go to that kind of Michelin star food. It's like a mecca for people who are into food. And so I bought a cookbook, a Basque cookbook for Basque cuisine. And tarragon's used in a number of recipes in the book.
Oh, yeah.
And so, funny enough, I went to Trader Joe's to try to find it. They didn't have it. Whole Foods didn't have it. And I had to get it at Publix. So Publix has organic tarragon.
Man. I have a deep love for Publix.
I don't know what Publix is.
It's just the best.
Publix is such, it reminds me of being in the sunshine because I was a snowbird growing up. We would do New York, Florida, because I lived with my grandparents, and every time we went down to Florida, Publix was the shopping set. I know it's expanded, but this is a million years ago. So it always reminds me of sunshine. So.
I bet Publix has the highest median age shopper of any other grocery store.
Oh my God, I love that.
I believe every minute of that.
Yes, absolutely.
They expanded. Now they have the Public Sabor, and so they have a lot of like Hispanic foods and Caribbean foods.
Oh God, I miss Publix. Damn it.
What did you just say, Ian? The Publix what?
Sabor.
Again?
Sabor?
Yeah.
Sabor.
Sabor. S-A-B-O-R.
In which we work on accents.
So
well, Cody, that was fabulous.
I'm going to open the floor to questions now. If any of our viewers have questions for Cody or for anyone else on the panel, if you want to go down the nerdy rabbit hole with us on cocktails or the whole dry shaking or methods or anything that you saw tonight, or you want to ask a bunch of mixologists who are missing their trade and their craft.
Sad, just sad.
It is so sad.
Sad
I
opinion.
thought I was done with all of it, and here I am going, maybe I could go back behind the bar again.
Me too, Sailor. I've been feeling the same way. Like,
Right?
missing bartending.
Yeah.
I never thought I would say that.
I never thought I would.
Seriously.
People
No.
ask me all the time, "Do you miss it?" I'll be like, "No."
No.
Mm-mm.
But I'll tell you though, the cool thing is when you become a brand ambassador, and this is for anyone that is interested in the spirits industries, you can get to this place, which is really exciting, where you've kind of gone through all these different jobs to pick up the skill set to be a brand ambassador for spirits. And so I finally got to the place where if I guest bartend, you don't get to order what you want.
Oh my.
And so I have to say, it's really cool. It's the best. So I tell you what you're going to drink, and I make you what I want to make you.
These two.
It's, that is when you really love your craft again. Because I'm like, well, can I have this? No, you can't have that. What do you usually drink? What do you like? What's your favorite flower? What's your favorite food? Okay, I'm going to make you something. And they just have to like it, and they have to drink it.
So fun.
I had a guest bar shift takeover. There's a place in San Diego called Pop's Liquor Cabinet. It has the entire capacity of the bar is about 15 people.
Fun.
To get behind the bar, you have to jump on top of the bar and climb over it because there's no access to behind the bar besides that. And so me and my
How is that approved by the fire department?
because there's only employees are back there. And so there's like 4 bar seats, then like 1 bar table. And so we were going to do a guest shift for Uncle Nearest with my girlfriend. She works for a bottle shop. And it's great because literally you come in with your own spirits and choose very specific cocktails, and people come in and order something. Just, no, I don't think so. You're going to like this.
Not tonight. Not tonight.
I like that.
So Cody, I before I definitely want to make sure we give you lots and lots of time to talk about like your career and like the restaurant you're open, the bar you're opening, etc. But I thought maybe we could indulge any of our viewers or whatever listeners and our team to talk about some of the nerdier things about the cocktails. So dry shake. You had said you're a fan of the dry shake at the end. Anybody else on the team? Thoughts? Dry shake before, dry shake after. How do we land?
Depends on the drink.
Say what?
Okay.
Of course it does.
Tell us more.
Of course
Man.
it
So, the only time I would dry shake or reverse dry shake would be for a Ramos, just because of the structure that you needed to create. For those who aren't familiar with a Ramos, it's a classic fizz that requires a lot of cream, egg white, gin, orange blossom water, lime, and lemon is what we did for our recipe.
Yep.
And we always opened a fresh soda water bottle because my bar didn't have a soda gun. We had these little like glass containers that we reused for syrups and stuff. So we would always reverse shake that. But any other egg white cocktail, as long as depending on the quality or cold draft and the process at which you shake, you can still create a decent foam head without having to take the extra couple steps. Especially for the bar that I worked at, it was all craft cocktails. You're producing 16 different cocktails every 20 minutes. And so it's just a matter of certain levels of speed where certain things you have to take extra time.
Yeah.
Right.
They have
Does
a
anyone
machine,
remember
They have
when
a
they
machine for that, for the Ramos. They
They
do. Yeah, it was a paint.
They used to pass it.
They used to pass it to 12-year-old boys that would stand in a row, we'll just say that, and shake them for like 20 minutes. And then someone was like, but what came first? The paint, what's it called when the paint
shaker, when you...
Yeah.
Which came first?
They actually are now using like shake containers, like when you go to a ice cream shop and put in those. I've seen people make Ramos with those now.
But the problem with that is that I found the cocktail is gross, honestly, because all of it, so it's your components are so separated. You have to get through like 10 layers of dry foam to get your drink, and nothing is mixed together. It's just, I don't know.
It's like a whiskey sour to sit for too long, and it just kind of totally
that's exactly.
That sad moment when you realize you waited too long because somebody stopped talking to you.
Has anyone just tried? When I worked at the Aviary in Chicago, When
Oh,
we
wow.
made our
Ooh,
when we made our fizzes, a little fancy. When we made our
Fancy.
fizzes, we just used one solid cold draft ice cube to shake, and we
And
shook.
you can tell it's
We
gone.
shook until it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
And
that's
then we
actually the
poured.
school I'm in. That's how I
That
do it
was
at
an
home
early
too.
school that I learned from too. But does anyone remember before the dry shake was even talked about? Because I think Chad Solomon and Christy Pope were the ones that started. I don't know if I'm dropping the right names right now. But
That sounds
I
right.
think that was a modern thing. Like, I don't think in the back in the day it was even a conversation about dry shake or whatever. Like, I think people just shook whatever. Gideon, do you have any thoughts about the dry shake? I know we asked you last time, I'm sure, but like from a chef
yes, I
perspective.
do.
Oh.
He does.
I was waiting for you to
We'll
ask.
see you at after hours, everybody.
I think Cody is spot on with if you have the extra time to add additional detail to your cocktail. What happens when you pour, at least from what I understand, is you stop shaking this thing and there's ice, and the ice is at its most critical point where it's actually diluting super fast. So by the time you pour this drink into this glass, you have a bunch of water floating around in there, right? Which is diluting the actual sips if you want to get really, really nerdy. And if you take the time to reverse dry shake, you shake all that loose water again together, you're re-emulsifying everything, bringing all those flavor profiles back together into each sip. So if you break it down on a molecular level, the reverse dry shake makes more sense than the traditional dry shake. Even with the buzzer that I use, I'll buzz that a couple of times after the cocktail's finished and strained as well, just to whip it up again and make sure that
bring
all that
everything
water
back
is
together.
emulsified into the sugar molecules. Yep.
And I think that
Thank you for saying. I didn't have the vocabulary. That was perfect.
Well, Gideon, we did not introduce him in his full capacity, but Gideon is trained as a chef before he came to this side. So we love to spotlight him on chemistry things.
That's a good tip with the boat motor too, right?
Oh yeah, never leave home without it.
That thing is life. That's what I was saying.
I love it.
Gideon kind of changed the conversation when he was last week talking about bar tools and highlighting bar tools, because if you have that thing, just forget it. Just use that, and there you go, boom. And then you don't have that the reverse dry shake. You have you have a potential for a problem, just like with that Ramos Gin Fizz, where you're going to separate that cocktail.
Yeah.
And unless you're like holding your straw above it and sipping through the levels, but still everything is separated, and that's what you don't want. And so
Or you need a Ramos spoon.
okay, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm still a fan of Cody's method. I
can't figure out why no one has volunteered to do the Ramos yet.
Oh,
Because it's
Oh,
hard.
gee, I don't
And you have to
know.
get
No,
orange
like why
blossom
wasn't that the
water.
first one?
Because I don't
did?
have the guns. I don't have the guns for it.
All right, Cody should make one of those.
Cody's
Cody,
back.
nothing to do?
Cody's invited back to do the
We'll just
Ramos.
get someone to shake the whole entire show, and then at the end of the show, oh hi, I'm ready to go now. I'll pour it out.
He quits. He just quits
May.
bartending. He's at it.
Yeah, they just walk out of the. Where'd you go?
For the last show of May, everyone has to make a Ramos Fizz,
Oh,
and we have to time each other, and the person who can make it first wins.
I might hire 12 people to shake it.
I might do the same thing.
Just pour all your ingredients inside of a blender and then be done with it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God, I love it.
So Jason H wanted to let us know. He said, I bartended for 5 years and thought I knew my stuff. Visiting Cody at his bar and having a nice mezcal old fashioned and traditional Manhattan was humbling.
Oh,
That is so dope.
That's so nice to hear.
Very dope.
thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Love that. So anybody who's watching, if you're listening, remember Cody, you can find him on Venmo at Cody Brown 1776.
So I want to bring up a question. Cody, why do you put your whiskey sour on ice?
So I like because even though it's cold, once it pours out, I like the little hit of added coldness, and I do less ice than I would in a normal cocktail, right? Like I just do, I don't know, 3 to 4 little cubes in there, just enough to keep it cold. I'm a weirdo, and when I drink cocktails or beer or anything like that, if it gets even the slightest bit warm, I'm like over it.
You're out.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Same way, yeah.
Is that how you would serve the cocktail on a menu for your bar?
I would, yeah, and I would just
Okay.
do if I had access to like a 1-inch solid cube, or like as people call them king cubes, or an ice sphere, or a block of clear ice, whatever it may be. I would serve it that way so that it wouldn't dilute and it would just keep it super cold.
You can get
I
really
love
cheap
that.
molds, silicone molds on Amazon that are like 2-inch by 2-inch, and they're perfect for home cocktailing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And that's what you used when you were doing your video, right, Sandra? You used like a nice big.
I had one other question. You're saying you tend to serve cocktails on ice. Are there any cocktails that you would serve neat at your bar and or at home?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of cocktail. I mean, anything I serve, although I do serve some cocktails, kind of what I call like up rocks, right? Like where it's in a coupe with a big cube.
Oh yes, I love that, Cody. I do that at home.
Oh, I like that. I do that at home.
I put ice in my wine, you guys. So
I mean,
Ah.
the girl out of Jersey, but you
Sure.
can't take the Jersey out of the girl.
Yeah.
That's me. That's me.
Snowbird.
The wine drinkers to thank for that innovation. But no, I love a neat cocktail, like a Sazerac, for instance. I love neat. And then there are plenty of up cocktails that are served, I just double strain into a coupe or a martini glass or into a flute that have no ice involved.
I'm going to have to quote you on this, Cody. I'm going to get with you after because I'm finishing up a book right now on the whiskey sour because it is, and Kenny knows this because it is, there's so much with the whiskey sour.
It's funny.
It really is, but I am I am always whiskey sour up. If you put ice in my whiskey sour, I am very sad and very upset. I've gone fisticuffs before with people about whiskey sour. But it's not only is it a preference, but
Love it.
the funny thing is you have a valid argument, but I also have a valid argument, and neither is more valid than the other. And that's what I love about cocktails, though. And we both have chemistry to back us up either way as well, which is interesting. So, and that's one of the things I love, but it's one of my favorite cocktails for Uncle Nearest. So it's usually what I order when I go out. And it's also, for me, the old fashioned used to be the mark of a good bartender. And thank God we're getting to the point where people can make a simple old fashioned. So really the whiskey sour gives me a good idea. And then I know when I'm going to be working with them to put a cocktail on the menu, like where they're at skill set and what their philosophy is. And I'm just collecting recipes, and I would end up asking why like this and why like that. And just the tiniest little thing in a whiskey sour, like you did that Tarragon, just changes everything.
Yeah,
So
cool.
that's what's so cool about this cocktail and many others is the nuances in it. But the techniques are, can be very polarizing.
Yeah. But also they can also be from the past. I mean, that's something that I loved about learning your recipe and reading your recipes. So I guess what I wanted to ask is, well, on the one hand, I guess we've probably already covered like your signature things for whiskey sour, but if there's any like main points you want to hit, I'd love to hear them. So reverse shake, large cube or couple cubes, anything else? Like things. Yeah.
I think the most important thing that you can do with your whiskey sour is to just make sure that you have the absolute freshest juice you can, right?
Okay.
If you want to switch it up and do a sour with lime, feel free to do so, or whatever you're using, whatever your citrus, it should be most freshly squeezed that you can find, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get, God forbid, some sort of citrus concentrate that you found at the grocery store.
Like the weird lemon.
Yes.
The weird
Take a lemon. Any
It's
port in a
so
storm.
gross.
But
I did it last week. Do you remember, guys? I said I had the
Xander.
grossest. I know, poor Xander.
I'm with you, Xander.
I didn't have
make
fresh lemon. I've never had it with that squeezy thing, and it was. To me, it was gross. I don't know. I was like, what did I do?
My thing is just citric acid, right? And water.
Sure.
Basically,
Is that
yeah.
pretty much it? It's like Sour Patch Kid dust.
Yes,
and then water.
exactly.
It's
Sour Patch Kid dust.
But it also has a bunch of stabilizers in it, and that's the gross part. All the the things that make it shelf stable long term.
Does it foam if you shake it?
No, that's the other thing. It doesn't foam, so I had to reverse dry shake, and I was like, oh, this is because I'm not a fan of that, and I was a mess.
So funny.
Please.
We've all been to that party where someone's like, "This is what I have," and you're like,
Yeah.
Pretentious as I am, when push comes to shove, we're all in a
something
lot of weird scenarios right now. So,
"Yeah."
will it make the best tasting whiskey sour? No. But if you're craving a whiskey sour and that's all you got, you're not
It'll
gonna
do the trick in a pinch.
Xander, I agree with you. I like 100% because I've been there.
The trick though is add it. So I read somewhere, I went online and someone said to add the juice from we're talking about the little squeezy lemon guys to a little bit of water and actually do your measurement like that. And it tasted a lot better. A lot better.
Because you have these days you've got a bunch of bartenders, these molecular bartenders who are taking bartending to the nerdiest degree that you possibly could go through. And using citric and malic acid and all these things to literally reproduce a lemon from nature in a and it's like this whole time all you had to do was
crazy.
Just use a lemon.
It's crazy, right? We have a great question from Richard Cheshel. So Richard Cheshel, Richard's going to come on the show for us.
He has to come on the show. Come on.
He is our director of beverage for Smith & Walensky, which is like a very huge, famous steakhouse.
You're already a celeb.
Richard. So Richard is asking, so cold draft makers are expensive, and he's not wrong. And they also, I don't want to talk negative, but I've heard they break a lot. But he said they're not always able to be installed in restaurants and bars due to space.
Yes.
So are there any other options? Y'all have so much diverse experience in restaurants and bars. Are there any other options you might recommend for better cocktail ice besides those silicone ice molds? Because that's not possible for a bar.
Hoshizaki makes a great kind of cold draft replica, right? And I, having used both at different restaurants, I've found, no offense to cold draft, I've found that the Hoshizaki doesn't go down ever.
Okay. Well, cold draft was the first one. I mean, they were kind of do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But no, we've had a lot of success with the Hoshizakis, and they make your old school chip ice in a lot of their machines, but they do have the one that makes the little 1-inch solid cubes.
That's awesome. That's good to know.
Any suggestions besides another machine that's comparable? Or
yeah,
kind of just having an ice program where you buy ice blocks and break it down yourself.
I was going to say that. Yeah. Or shopping around in your local market, and not local market, but just seeing if there's any companies locally that design ice, and maybe you can order ice just for a specific.
It's happening more and more. Yeah.
There's a great guy to follow on Instagram or Facebook, or he's got a fantastic website. It's all ice related. His name's Camper English.
Oh, Camper English.
Camper English. Yeah.
He's like the ice kid.
Yeah.
And, he's got a bunch of solutions for that kind of stuff. If somebody wants to go look,
he's amazing.
That wasn't Haley.
That wasn't Haley.
Haley grew a beard.
Hello.
Haley dared that.
I feel like you should make him take a shot.
Oh, wow. Jason Hansen, what's up? Thank you for the kiss, sir.
Well, that was fun.
A quarantine beard, man. That feels good.
Just real fluffy. So Cody, I have a question too. I was just wondering if so the whole iteration, iteration for this cocktail was, what would you make with a stay-at-home pantry ingredient? Is that your thing? To just use a classic and be can you share with us a little bit more about how people can do that at home?
Yeah, absolutely. I love looking around the kitchen and kind of seeing what we have, especially in the time that we're in right now where you maybe can't go to the store, or if you do go to the store, they've just been wiped out and there's not a lot of selection. For instance, you need to make an old fashioned, you don't have an orange, maybe you have a lemon, right? Maybe you don't have a lemon, maybe you have a lime and you have some rum, right? Maybe do a rum old fashioned, throw a lime in there instead. I like to play with those ideas, and it's really been something that I've been forced to do over the past couple of weeks. And so it's not, I don't think it's something that I always tried to do, but I think that it's a fun way to, it's a fun twist on this whole situation that we're in, right? To try and challenge yourself with what you've got in the pantry, what you've got in the fridge, what, you know, if you can't make it to the liquor store, what do I have? What can I maybe come up with something great? Who knows? You know what I mean? I mean, these are the situations where people innovate and we come up with new things. So
absolutely. And I love how you
made honey mustard with agave instead of honey the other day.
Honey mustard?
Yes. So I really honey mustard. I didn't have honey. With agave, it worked out, y'all.
What? I'm sure it did. I bet it was
You made a
delicious.
what?
Did she say she was honey mustard?
Yeah.
Honey mustard cocktail. That's our next
whiskey
drink.
sour?
No, it's like an agave thing, she said.
yeah,
Oh no, yeah. Right.
it was
for chicken.
food related. It was
That was for a cocktail.
Challenge accepted.
I was
Everybody
like,
make your
a
own.
mustard cocktail? I think we're going too far, my friend.
I have had a mustard cocktail in Paris though, and it was absolutely delicious.
What was the base
it.
spirit?
Acceptable in
I
Paris.
believe it was gin. I believe it was gin.
Oh, I believe that was
Yeah.
gin.
Yeah, that would be really good.
I can see because it's like it can be
It
savory.
was amazing. It was amazing.
Is anybody else gonna go into their kitchen and shake up a whiskey honey mustard cocktail just to see what
100%.
happens?
What happens?
Yep, just to try it. Yep.
We used this last
10,000%.
night. I didn't have any simple syrup on hand, and we went live on Facebook, and somebody asked for a French 75, and because I didn't have any simple syrup, so I reached into the pantry and we had these little whole earth. I don't know if you can see this. This is monk
Stevia?
monk fruit and stevia. Yeah, so
Okay.
Monk fruit.
when you're talking stevia, a lot of stevia has a really weird, bitter, plasticky plant aftertaste. This is the only one that I've found that doesn't have that, and it has monk fruit in it also. And they have these at Starbucks. You can get them at the grocery store for like $6 for a whole box. But this is one of those things where we were like, oh, we don't have actual simple syrup, and just a little, like a quarter of this packet was perfect.
That's awesome.
And lower calorie.
I know, right? Look, the new
Worried
skinny
about
cocktail.
eating during court.
So why don't you tell us? What's up?
You all hear the birds chirping?
I do
Yes, that's
hear
Gideon.
Gideon?
It's Gideon.
Not
He's
Boston.
outside.
Birds
Hear
are
the birds
sleeping
chirping.
here.
I love it.
Nature is reclaiming the earth.
Yes.
If you haven't been up on your Wall Street Journal articles.
That's a great view from back behind you, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
That's a Napa,
in
California.
that's
Very
beautiful.
California.
Jealous of the
Thanks.
weather.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt about birds.
No. We were all hearing it, so it's good to
I
name
had a
it.
quick question for Cody again. So I always love to ask this question when I meet great bartenders. How did you become a bartender? What was the moment? What was the challenge to get through? What was your situation?
So
How'd you get behind the stick?
Show notes.
my first restaurant job,
Question.
and this is a segue into it, was at the Cheesecake Factory. And
Yes.
they're so strict about who they hire because the menu is so gigantic that they only hire people who've had experience prior restaurants. And I didn't, but when I went with my friend to apply, he did. And their hiring policy also states that if two people come to apply together, they either hire both or they don't hire either one.
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
That's
To
so
know
weird.
anybody who's looking for a job after this.
I was gonna say what policy is based on like we're twinsies going in together.
Right.
Like
I don't
It's
know.
the buddy system.
Cheesecake Factory stuff.
Okay.
But they hired me because they hired him, and so they had to give me a chance, and I just got absolutely
Wow.
destroyed my first couple shifts. It was Christmas time when we started.
Oh.
and
Oh, God.
People were leaving me like pennies. You know, I mean, it was awful.
oh.
Also, those white outfits, like you have to wear, like how is
you got
that
a
fair?
tie in the white outfit, and I don't even like cheesecake, and I had to tell people which one was my favorite after every meal. Dude,
But also, a Cheesecake Factory is one of those places where people sit down and go, "So what's good?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "There's literally 500 things on the menu, asshole."
Yeah, you're like, turn to page 36 in the menu, halfway down. So
Always mozzarella sticks.
It put a really bad taste in my mouth for the service industry as a whole because it was so corporate and it was so structured. And from there, I worked kind of bartending jobs when I had to. I moved into the bar at a neighborhood restaurant after that. And then I kind of I bartended here and there on and off, and I never really truly enjoyed it. I always had a little bit of apprehension when I stepped behind the bar, and it was a little bit because I was afraid that if somebody asked me about something that I didn't know, I was worried that I would be embarrassed for not knowing something, right? So I was working for AT&T, and I got a great job with AT&T, corporate job, but I was really unhappy. And I went back to one of the neighborhood bars that I worked for that I had started with a gentleman here in Roswell, and I was one of the first servers there, so we opened it together, and then I went to AT&T. When I came back, he said that his friend from Manhattan was coming down to become the director of operations, and he had a bar background. And his name's Marcus Bufaro. I consider him my mentor to this day. He's the one that really made me love the bar. And when I came back to the bar, he put 2 cocktails on our menu. We didn't have a cocktail menu at all. And this is in Alpharetta, Georgia here. And people were complaining, you guys need a cocktail menu. You need a cocktail menu. What's going on? So he completely revamped our bar. And the first night, he only put 2 cocktails on the menu. And one of them was called a strawberry smash. And it's vodka, agave, lemon, and strawberries and basil muddled.
Sounds good.
Really simple. Easy, just shake it and dump it straight over, right? Smash it straight over. So I was on service bar the first night, and I made 46 of them the first night. Absolutely, Alpharetta just ate them up. People were freaking out about it.
Like a machine, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I think I was bedridden for like a day after.
I remember those.
Who were those biceps then?
Yeah. That's where they came
They were
from.
like linguini the next day. So he pulled me aside after that shift, and he was like, you killed it last night. How would you like to be the bar manager? I'll pay you an hourly wage plus your tips. It's going to change everything for you. And being that I was so unhappy with the corporate job I just came from, I just said, yeah, this is perfect. And he's the one who taught me how to measure, right? I never used jiggers up until that point. Syrups, tinctures, he taught me everything. And when it became an art to me, and it became like there was a method to the madness, is when I really started to love it. And before that, it was because it was the chaotic confusion of being behind the bar and not always knowing exactly what to do. The jigger kind of became a sense of sanity for me, because I knew that no matter what anyone asked for, if I had a jigger, I could make it correctly. And so I tell people that I train to this day. People, a lot of people don't like jiggers. They go, oh, I don't want to use that. I can go fast and I can measure it. I'm like, no, the jigger is your safety blanket, right?
Yeah.
Security blanket. Like you
ain't gonna mess it up.
So that's the story. Marcus is one of my best friends in the world. And he's the one that introduced me to all that, and he's the one that put me on my path.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. I love that.
I felt the same way about the jigger too, because I was always like, I can't. I mean, it's so. When I was learning to bartend, like it was just count.
Yeah, count. Have you ever had a manager? The first time that became real for me is I had a manager go. And I had been bartending a long time at this point, and I thought I was pretty precise with my pour counts. And they teach you how to feel the weight of the bottle, how to count, because it's going to be different when it's a full bottle and when it's half empty. It was like, okay, we're going to do this with water, and I'm going to have you do your counts, and we're going to do these in glasses, and then we're going to do jigger counts next to them.
Oh,
and that's when I was like, oh,
it's just and
it's not precise. It's not precise,
It's like and club bartending is just try and keep it under 6 ounces of booze in the glass.
And that's where it came from. Dive bars and club bars.
That's what it was.
And it's because it's bad. You gotta, you're having like my tiny hands. I could still hold the 3 bottles and and you're like, what? As you're making, But it's absolutely true. The minute that I saw that, and I had thought I was like, I'm really precise, I'm really good, like my margins were still good, and then when I saw those comparisons in the glasses, it was real to me that the jigger is, you can't mess with the jigger, man.
The jigger is a god behind the bar.
I like it.
I agree.
Cody, thank you for sharing that story, man. That makes me really happy inside. Yeah, you share. I mean, you share a very similar story with a lot of people in the industry. And have you read Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential?
It's like my mantra. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
we should do the glass to Anthony Bourdain.
We should.
You remember Bigfoot? The story of Bigfoot. So it sounds like Marcus is your Bigfoot to Anthony Bourdain's story. So here's Anthony Bourdain.
100%. Here's
Marcus.
Yes.
All of our people.
All the Bigfoots that put us on our path.
Funny enough, Marcus knew Tony Bourdain. And
surprising, not surprising.
Yeah.
Not surprising. He's from New York, right? But he didn't meet him in New York. He ran a bunch of bars down in St. Martin. And
that's awesome.
would go down there and he would party with Marcus when he was down there. So they actually knew each other.
Oh, I love that.
I got a lucky chance to meet him about 3 years ago now. Less than 3 years ago.
Wow.
My friend was the ambassador for Belvini. And back when they were doing this whole marketing plan of craft or hand-built, he interviewed a Boston drum maker who took the wood staves from barrels at Belvini and made a drum for Green Day.
Dude,
and so he came out to Boston and did the film live, and we got the chance to actually meet him because of my friend.
Awesome.
How cool.
I'm jealous.
Sweet guy, sweetheart. Asshole, but sweetheart, like in his own way.
Yeah.
I don't think he's an asshole. He's a typical New Yorker. Well, that's all right. I mean, I met him several times.
Interpretations, some people would call him one.
Is this for after hours? This might be for after hours.
This might be a good after hours. I feel
Share
like
your favorite.
Stay tuned. I'm here for it. I'd love to know. I do want to hear a little bit more about your bar that you're opening.
Yes.
Yeah, like shout it out. Let us know what's going on.
Man, we were moving right along before all of this, and obviously the economy's taken a big hit. But hopefully we can get back on track once we're open back up, however long that is. The concept is called Paperboy. My lovely wife, Haley, actually came up with the name.
Wait, is that from Atlanta? Like the Paperboy in Atlanta? The guy?
So kind of by coincidence. Haley didn't even really think about that. I told her that I wanted a bar that had kind of a old school train station feel. And my original name was going to be Grand Central, but there were too many bars already named that or restaurants already named that. So we had to get a little more obscure. And part of my concept for that was I wanted physical newspapers at the bar, right?
I love that.
Oh, I love it.
People could put down their phones and actually like open up a paper and kind of hang out. And Haley was like, Paperboy. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. It's like serious enough, playful enough, and it'll be great for cocktails. And so that's the concept. And the great thing is that it's like a 8-minute walk out my front door is where the site is. So
amazing.
Exciting.
Yeah, if we're going to make it happen. We're going to do whatever it takes. But we have some really cool ideas. We're going to be doing, it's inside of a shared workspace. And if you guys are familiar with WeWork, the concept where you pay like a membership and you can go use kind of like a cubicle, right? One of my partners is the founder of a company called Thrive that's local here, and they do kind of an elevated WeWork. And so we're going to be inside of a 10,000 square foot shared workspace. So like drop the bar right in the middle of it. And so we'll be able to actually deliver cocktails to people's cubicles.
That sounds awesome.
So that's awesome, Cody.
Nobody's getting work done.
I'll tell you, in Seattle, that was the first time I was introduced to something like that. So Uncle Nearest is actually placed in several bars like that in Seattle. They are one is called the Cloud Room. The other is called the Collective.
Yes.
Where it is a shared work, and one is right inside Amazon Village. It's a shared workspace, and Cloud Room is really cool. It's in a building where on the bottom floor there's like a bake shop, an ice cream shop, a sushi restaurant, and then there's like offices, and then at the very top is the Cloud Room, and run by amazing women, and they have a bar in there. And so there's the little bar in the corner, and then you have like all these different atmospheres to sit on and work, a couch or maybe a little desk or a little table, and you have and these bars do really, really well.
Awesome.
And it's such a cool concept, and there's certain hours of the day that they let public come in, and then sometimes it's just for members or whatever. But it's cool. I've never seen that model before until I was introduced to that in Seattle. So I totally envision what you're saying.
Yeah,
very cool.
You even toyed with the idea of having like a red rotary phone, kind of like a presidential phone, right? And like you can call from your cubicle and patent at like desk 36. You
Oh
know?
my God, I love it.
You have to.
Yeah, I love that. So great.
You have to give us all the tea, like very like confidentially about which industry needs the most.
For sure. I'll be making a tally of who lawyers, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who drinks the most?
Those advertising.
We want to hear it here.
So wet. So I think we're probably about to wind down, but Cody, I do want to ask you also about your transition from being a bartender and owning your own, or moving into owning your own space and having your clientele, your regulars, into your YouTube network, which everyone should follow. Yeah.
Totally. So I had for a while now, I've had a side consulting business called CB Cocktails that I did for private events, other businesses that I wasn't directly related to, even like coming into people's homes and teaching them cocktail courses in person. And then when this all happened and we were kind of confined to our own space, it kind of forced me to go online with it and to make videos and talk about cocktails. And I think, like we were talking about earlier, we all kind of miss being behind a bar now, right? You miss the social interaction. You miss talking to people, the stories, having the same people come every week. That's kind of like your family outside of your family. And this was kind of a way for me to get that back and to be able to connect with people on Facebook and Instagram and friends. And then kind of something kind of struck a chord with me. I kind of realized there's been 50 years now that we've been watching people cook on TV and teaching us how to cook.
Yes.
But there's never been anything to teach us the liquid portion of our meal, right? And so people just wine's fantastic, beer's fantastic, but people don't know how to pair a 4-course meal at home that they've learned from Ina Garten or Julia Child or Emerald or whoever it may be with a quality cocktail that is restaurant quality. And so I thought, how has that not happened yet? How can we make that happen? And I somehow got the domain and the YouTube home bar network. And so that's what we're working on now, is to bring cocktail education into the home and kind of teach it in a way that people can understand and do along with you while they watch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome.
That'll help the folks. I'm sure all of you all have had those friends and family members that call you for special occasions. Like, what can I make for this? That'll help those people out a lot.
Every minute. Tomorrow I have a date. What can I make?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I've had a really bad day, and recently a friend did this, but what she's doing is incredible. She runs an organization called The Intentionalist, and intentionally pushes people to spend money in diverse businesses and small independent-owned businesses. And right now, she's single-handedly, I feel comfortable saying, almost keeping Seattle's diverse businesses alive, especially Asian restaurants that have been hit and bars that have been hit the most hard. So she called me and she's like, and she's always happy and smiling and a super supporter. And she's like, I've just had a really bad day. And I'm like, what can I do for you? I couldn't imagine what I could do for her. She's in Seattle. I'm in Spokane. She's like, I need a cocktail. And I was like, okay. Open your fridge. What do you have? I got this. I can help you. And it was the way I could love on her, and so we went through what was in her fridge, and we went through like how long to shake her, and she was just and I heard her sip it, and she was just like, I could hear that like her shoulders, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, it was such a good feeling.
What did you make? What did you have her make?
So we did it a bit of a fun. I like to do like funky riffs. So I was like, so she had pineapple juice, and obviously she had Uncle Nearest.
That's awesome.
He's a huge supporter. So shout out to The Intentionalist and Laura Cleese. And she had we had a little soda water. She had orange bitters. I'm trying to remember. She had a peach aperitif, and she had some sweet vermouth.
Oh, that sounds great.
I said, put it all together, shake it up. I want it to be super easy for her. She was really, because I know she's walking into places that are probably not going to be in business a week from now, and just hearing these family stories, because you know how it is. If you are an independent business owner, most likely this is a family story of your business. So, and I knew that was hard. I was like, let's just make this easy for her. We're not going to go crazy, you know, and I said, just throw it all together. And then we did it in a Collins glass over ice. And I said, add a little splash of soda water and boom. And I had her put enough in there for 2 cocktails so that she could have
Nice.
2.
We're done.
Just one big one.
Oh, Sailor the cocktail angel.
But it's a nice feeling though, you know, like to help that way. So Cody, you're hitting such a perfect place. And what a great correlation with TV chefs. That I never even thought about it like that.
I didn't think about it either. And then it just I kind of realized like when we're guiding people along to make drinks at home, I'm like, oh my God, they've been doing this with food since like the 1960s.
Yes,
like, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So, you know, it's a little more difficult because of what people may have at home, but, you know, I'm trying to concentrate and not make things too obscure and try and just kind of use the ingredients that people can go to the grocery store and get, regular spirits that people can find and not have to order online, things like that to make it kind of easy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we love it. Thank you so much. So should we wrap it up, y'all?
Yeah.
Okay. And are we doing after hours tonight?
Yes, we're going to do an after
hours. So after hours, yes.
Or as Chastity and I call it, the aftertaste.
Which
nobody else likes.
Cody.
All right. Well, super huge thank you to Cody for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, everybody who tuned in. He is Cody at Home Bar Network.
Yes.
You can follow him on Instagram there and Twitter, I think. And then you can also Venmo Cody at Cody Brown 1776. Give him a tip. He's fantastic.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Cody, and thanks for being our whiskey family too. We appreciate you and your wife.
I need to come visit Paperboy once it's construction.
Yes,
we're like all gonna come at once.
Look at all these guest bartenders you have.
Yeah,
I know, right?
I will serve one drink. Shots.
My friend.
Haley. Bye, Haley.
And the puppy. I love it.